And now on to latest updates on the war. Now, will the US return to war with Iran? The question is now gaining global attention after US President Donald Trump's return from China. With US forces on standby, Israel stating it's ready for renewed fighting and negotiations stuck over Iran's enriched uranium stockpile, concerns are growing that the fragile ceasefire could fall apart. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One shortly after leaving Beijing, President Trump dismissed Iran's latest peace offer as unacceptable and reiterated that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President, just to be clear, I mean, what's next? Is the threat of the bombing starting again? How realistic is that?
I don't want to say that. I mean, I'd like to tell you. I'd like to say on a certain hour, a certain day, the bombing is going to start. I don't want to say that. I can only say that Iran, I can say this with very, very strong conviction, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Not going to happen. No chance.
Have you rejected the latest proposal from Iran, or where does that stand?
I've looked at it, and if I don't like the first sentence, I just throw it away.
Trump said he would accept a 20-year suspension of Iran's nuclear program if Tehran provides strong and credible guarantees, stressing that any agreement must be real and comprehensive. According to Trump, Tehran initially agreed to the proposal before backing away, but he insisted Iran would eventually accept the terms.
20 years is not enough for you. It's got to be a no, 20 years is enough, but the level of guarantee from them is not enough. In other words, it's got to be a real 20 years, not a big one. You've got to get all the fuel out and no more production. We have to get everything, but we're not even talking about, I call it the nuclear dust. Came up with a term which seems to have caught on. But I'm talking about because they would not remove the... Yeah, they said that they can't remove it because they don't have the technology to remove it. They don't have the type of tractors. They say the only one, they told me directly, they said the only one that can remove it is China or the U.S. We're the only ones with the equipment. They said you were right. It is a complete obliteration. With that being said, I want to get it. And they agreed to it, but then they took it back, but they'll agree to it eventually.
Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that for the moment, the issue of enriched uranium stockpiles is not under negotiation, and discussions on the matter have been postponed.
The subject of our enriched material is a very complicated one, and we have now come to the conclusion with Americans that since it is very difficult, we are almost in a deadlock on this particular question, let's postpone it to the later stages of our negotiations. So for the time being, it is not under discussion, it's not under negotiation, but we will come to that subject in later stages.
Speaking on the Strait of Hormuz, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said the waterway remains open to international shipping despite rising tensions. He noted that all vessels are free to pass, except those from nations at war with Iran or engaged in military action. Araghchi said Chinese have good intentions and welcomed any diplomacy by China in ending tensions with West Asia. As Trump weighs his decision whether to resume the war in Iran, the Pentagon is preparing for the possible return of military operations against Iran after last month's ceasefire paused Operation Epic Fury. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said more than 50,000 U.S. troops have been assigned to West Asia, and according to reports, if combat resumes, the U.S. military plans to rename Operation Fury to Operation Sledgehammer. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that Israel is ready if hostilities resume. At the same time, U.S. officials signaled that diplomacy remains on the table, with Washington discussing another round of talks with Tehran in Pakistan. A Pakistani delegation arrived in Iran on Wednesday to explore a follow-up to the recent meeting in Islamabad, raising hopes that negotiations may continue despite the looming threat of renewed conflict.